we talk about long-term solutions and economic development, not only in the short term, but also in the medium and long term. So the debt should be sustainable. Even if we have short-term development or medium-term development, these problems will arise in the future. So we should speak about sustainability and finding the appropriate mechanisms to sustain this debt and refinance all this debt and economic activity. And regional level is very important. Although that the debt problem is focused on governments, a lot of regions are hugely affected. We should not forget that Epirus is one of the poorest areas in Europe. So even within countries, we see a lot of disparities. And this goes back to the argument of equity. Regions in Europe should have a kind of equity. This regards also the homogeneity of the system. If we don't have homogeneity, this could create a lot of problems. What should be done? Financial engineering. I think that financial engineering could provide effective solutions. Optimizing the transfer of risk, increase liquidity, and stimulate growth. And I will be more specific how this could be done. First of all, there are specific types of bonds or financial instruments that I have difficulties in understanding. For example, the cocoa bonds, convertible bonds, and a lot of other suggestions that I would like to speak in more detail. So first, some academics at ESCP, Evans and Tse, who gave an interview at NET, Dr. Tse gave an interview about the debt write-off. I think the debt write-off between countries and within banks in the European Union can provide an effective solution. There are a lot of difficulties regarding how a mechanism like this can be implemented. But if it is effectively implemented, we could see huge reductions in government debt from write-off between countries. Theoretically, there are very big reductions in debt. But even if we have reductions to the range of 10–20%, this could make a huge difference. This could make a marginally huge difference, especially for rating agencies and private investors reinvesting in government debt. So we need new arrangements for sovereign debt. And this is also where the European Central Bank should play a role and think about its position as a lender of last resort or providing other types of financial instruments. Quantitative easing might be a choice. Again, we cannot find a silver bullet. We don't have a solution. We should have a range of solutions in order to solve these problems, transfer of risk, liquidity. So we are talking about a harmonizing mechanism in order to boost liquidity and economic growth and development. Financing big projects, and again I insist in the involvement of the private sector, private finance initiatives, PPPs, public-private partnerships, SDIT, as they are known in Greece. Again, there are a lot of different mechanisms regarding PFIs. What is the risk of the government? What would be the risk that investors bear? What will be the arrangements? And still I believe in the involvement, in the greater involvement of the private sector. Governments should not bear the risk, but private investors should have higher returns, but bear the risk at the same time. Financing small businesses. This is very important for the case of Greece. We have seen that small and medium-sized enterprises face huge problems. A lot of companies are in the verge of bankruptcy. So they don't have the liquidity. Banks are not lending anymore. Greek banks. Why European banks do not participate in this mechanism? This might be a good solution. Increase the competition in the banking sector in Greece. We lack mechanisms of private equity, venture capital, very important for economic development. So I think that competition, a new mechanism of finance, I have used the term microfinance, which is used especially in less developed countries. But I think it can apply to some regions in Greece and other countries, other European countries. I believe that financial innovation is only a part of the equation for solving this crisis. We need institutional innovation. Not only institutional innovation regarding financial markets, but also regulation. Regulation is very important. I believe in having less restrictions regarding the movement of capital. We need more liquidity, less transaction costs, instead of a Tobin tax. We have seen the effect of taxes, of increasing taxes. I believe that right now a Tobin tax might be catastrophic. We need the political will. Politicians should take the appropriate decisions, have appropriate leadership. There are a lot of arguments about lack of leadership in Europe. And also, we need citizen involvement. This is very important. Citizens should understand what the problems are. No one has explained what might be the effect of a default of Greece. I talked to a lot of people, and they believe that if we default, this might be good, because then their debts to the banks might be written off. This is not true. Actually, they will not get paid, probably for a prolonged period of time. This will be a huge problem for the institutions, for productivity. And this is the role of politicians and policymakers to inform the public and convince them that, unfortunately, we have to sacrifice a lot of things. Not only Greeks, but Europeans. Transfer payments within Europe in order to sustain the euro and economic development. Financial innovation. Can financial innovation increase wealth? Actually, a lot of economists believe so. Even Marx believed in the role of financial innovation. A very good studies by Butt at the World Bank regarding especially credit improvement. At the same time, it can increase volatility. But at this stage, what do we need? We have a lot of volatility. We should increase economic development. I believe that the trade-off between innovation and volatility is towards the side of wealth. And we have the challenge to optimize this trade-off. And actually, some parties will lose, but we should find the mechanism and equally distribute the losses. My last slides, how this can affect security. I will focus on human security and that people are important. Not governments, not the aggregates. People are very important. And this goes back to the argument of microfinance. Terrorism, actually less economic development can enhance terrorism. And security and development, this is a vicious cycle. If we don't have economic development, this will cause a lot of instability. And the other way around, if we have instability, this will not allow economic development to progress. Therefore, financial innovations are essential. Thank you for your attention.